YouTube, what's going on, man? Welcome back to another video. As you can see from the title of this one, though, we are going to give you a build that is, based around D Wade, man. And there's a couple of different ways that you can make D Wade. It's just the weird thing is when you take a look at D Wade's build, especially on the roster list, especially like the 1 year that they have in the roster with like the big three. So if you look at the year with the big three in the roster list, you'll see that D Wade really doesn't even have a driving dunk. He's only got like a 60 driving dunk. Can't really like do too much, which is absolutely insane. So if I were to base a build around, the original way that I was doing it before with like the template and everything like that, and I'll go into here just to show you guys, it's like D Wade here has a 94 driving dunk, 85 driving layup. And to me, I feel like this build does not encapsulate what D Wade is able to accomplish. Because if we go back into our history books, we know that D Wade is one of the best shot blockers in the shooting guard position of all time. He's literally one of the best shot blockers as a guard. And that comes down to a fact where even in his second year, like literally his second year in the league, not only was he averaging over 20 points per game, like 4 or 5 rebounds or so, same with like assist, but not only that, but he was averaging like over a steal per game and literally over a block per game, which is absolutely insane. But obviously with this, there are some other things that are really, really good. The 83 speed with ball is such a good threshold to reach. The 76 three-pointer, the 84 mid-range. And also he's got a pretty decent post control as well. The only thing that's really, really interesting to me about this particular build is that they really focused on the ability of him being able to score and play make rather than just being able to defend as much as he was able to. Is this a template that is, actually D Wade? Maybe, but is it actually correct altogether? Probably not. That's why my version that I made, I feel like, is a little bit more accurate towards D Wade. Now, obviously, D Wade is such a really, really good finisher at the rim. He's able to finish practically at the rim whenever he wants to. He's got a little bit of a post control, but they give like everybody post control, really. So I'm not too worried about, having, a 72 plus post control on D Wade. But it's like the shooting is pretty much solid for where it's at. And not only that, but we can also increase the pass accuracy a little bit because he was, a little bit of a better passer. So if we give him the ability to have like a really good pass accuracy and, just increase the ball handling and pass accuracy so he can also play as a main point guard as well, because we know that D Wade can also play a really, really good point guard. But not only that, but he can also shoot the 3 ball a little bit, not too much. So the 76 makes sense. The mid-range also kind of makes sense because he was more of like a driver to the basket than anything. And then also he has obviously really, really good teammates. He had Bosh. He had Shane Battier. He had Mike Miller, Ray Allen. They also had obviously LeBron. So they had like a lot of, options for that 1 year, obviously, in that roster that you can take a look at. A lot of the people that I didn't mention there are on that same roster list. They had Udonis Haslem on that roster as well. They just had such a really, really, good roster. Rashard Lewis was also on that year as well. So there's just a lot of good players surrounding D Wade where I feel like he could just be a really, really good playmaker as well, because he actually was a decent playmaker. Also, they gave him a 93 stamina on this build. What the fuck are we doing, 2K? Just give every single one of your templates a maxed out stamina rating. Please and thank you. But because they don't know what they are doing, clearly, I made my version. By the way, I made my own version of D Wade, and I'm going to show you that version right here, right now, because we practically are going 6'4", 212 pounds, 6'11". That's literally everything on the roster list. If you go to his build in that roster on the same year that I was mentioning before, this is literally the body settings that he has, on that same version. 6'4", 212, 6'11" wingspan. So here's what I did. I practically did not max out at the 94 as they had before. I went to an 89. Why? Why did I go to an 89? Because the 89 is what's needed for 1 foot pro dunks. And when you have the 1 foot pro dunks, it's very, very solid. Because then also in this case, because you have like an 86 plus, if you were to just, because we are 6'4", if you just increase the vertical to an 85 as well, then you get the 2 foot small dunks as well on the contacts, which is pretty solid. So then also for the rest of this, I just go up to an 80 here because obviously it's a little bit harder to go to an 85, but that's just because we're not really focusing on too much else. And I will show you guys all the other stats as well. So here, I'm just going to, skip by post control for a minute and just go straight to the shooting because obviously the shooting, as I mentioned before, is pretty damn solid for where it's at, where we have the 76 3-point shot as well, which gives us agent threes. It's a pretty decent threshold to reach as well in general. And then the 84 mid-range is really, really good because that gives you that dead eye on silver as well as midi magician on gold. Now, the next threshold that you would reach would be an 86, where you would get comeback kid on Hall of Fame and open looks on gold as well. The next threshold is an 88, where then you'll get Green Machine and Space Creator on gold. So obviously you have some really, really good thresholds at every 2 at this point because, once you get to like an 82, then you have catch and shoot and guard up that go up to gold. Then at an 83, you get blinders, obviously. 84 is the next big one where you get that mini magician dead eye. 86, comeback kid, open looks. 88, Green Machine, Space Creator. So obviously really, really good thresholds at every other attribute upgrade there. And then we're just going to bring up the free throw to at least a 71 for now, just because we have the ability to have free points, which does come in handy sometimes. Now, pass accuracy is going to be dramatically increased to an 87. That 87 threshold is able to get us bailout. We're not going to go to an 89 to get Tyrese Halliburton. That would be the only reason why you would go to an 89, other than, the dimer and relay passer. But I feel like the 87 is really, really good. Also, the 87 pass accuracy, pretty much, or the 86 plus, is what is needed for specific build names as well. So take that into consideration when you are wanting to make a build name with diming or Maestro or something like that in the name. Now here with ball handling, we go up to an 85 because 85 is when you get ankle breaker on gold. Pretty solid there. And then we also have the 83 speed with ball as well, which is pretty good. It reaches certain thresholds for some of these badges as well, which you'll see in a moment when we actually go to speed and acceleration. Now for defense though, what we actually do have is the ability to have up to an 82, which does give us Silver Challenger because we know that he was a pretty good defender as well. I won't say he's the best defender in the world, obviously, but he's a pretty decent defender on the ball. And then we're not going to touch the steal rating at all because we're going to focus more on block. We're going to bring up our block rating to a 68 because, like I said before, he's one of the best shot blocking guards in the league of all time. Some people might argue that, but it's kind of true. So we give him the 68 block rating, so we can indeed get chase down artists. We're not able to get it anything higher than that. We can't get anchor because we're only 6'4". It's not like we can get pogo stick or really like we're focusing on pogo stick. Doesn't really matter. So nothing else too much there. Got the 68. That's why the 6'11 wingspan is really, really insane that they were able to show that he's got a 6'11 wingspan on his build because then he gets 68 block rating. Crazy, right? Craziness is happening. And then we also increase our rebounding to at least a 60. Nothing else too crazy here. Don't really need anything higher than a 60 because that gives us rebound chaser. Now for the physicals, I'm obviously going to increase the stamina all the way to a 99 because, why the fuck not? And then also another thing that we're going to do is we're going to increase our vertical because originally you would go up only to like a 78 if you have an 89 driving dunk because that's what is required for you to get those contact dunk animations at the 89 rating because you get the 2-foot pro contact dunks with the 87 driving dunk and a 75 vertical. But then with the 89 driving dunk, you have to have the 78 vertical in order to get the dunks off 1 foot, or at least the pro ones off 1 foot. Meanwhile, the 2-foot elite is a 94 and the 1-foot elite is a 96, and they require an 82 and 86. So that's pretty high up there and requires a lot, and I mean a lot, of overall. So here, we're just going to increase this even more until we reach the 85. Because the reason why we have it set at an 85, like I mentioned before, is so we can get those small contact dunks off too, which are really, really decent animations to have. I don't know if they're as, necessary as they were in previous years, especially in like 2021 and so on. But obviously here we can still have that available as well. And then here we have our strength that we're going to increase to a 60, because that 60 is the threshold for fearless finisher on silver, as well as our lovely physical handles. So we're not going to be as much of a nuisance. Now for the speed and acceleration, which, the acceleration, I'm only going to bring up so much. The reason why I'm only going to bring it up so much is just because it's not really needed after a certain point. But here in the speed, though, we are going to increase it to an 82 at least. And the reason why we have it set to an 82 is so we can have hyperdrive on gold. Hyperdrive is very, very important when using dribble moves and, like going towards the basket and whatnot, because it says increases dribbling skills while on the move. So if you're doing like a lot of moving dribbles because you're trying to get around somebody, you try to break somebody down, or or just in general, just, get a little bit of a boost with your skills trying to go to the basket, because typically that's what hyperdrive was used before. If you guys remember hyperdrive from 2K23, it was specifically used for, ball handling and dribbling towards the basket specifically. Here it just says while on the move. So getting that little bit of a boost to your dribbling ability, while also, moving around trying to get like an open lane towards the basket for a contact dunk, or whatever the case may be that you're looking for, you have that available at your disposal. And then now with everything else, though, we can try to increase this as much as possible. It's nothing too crazy, but we can increase it if we want to. But the 75 is a really good threshold. Meanwhile, we can also bring the strength up to a 70 or a 63. I apologize, so we can get the physical handles, which is pretty damn solid. We're not going to be increasing our perimeter defense to an 85 to get silver clamps, because the 82 threshold, like I mentioned before, is what is just necessary to get challenger on silver, which is a pretty good badge to have. Now, nothing else is really too crazy here. Even speed booster is not going to be too crazy, because we cannot get the 92 ball handling to get blow by and speed booster. So we're not really going to touch the speed with the ball really at all, because it doesn't really matter. The 83 threshold is just really, really solid. Now, if we wanted to, we can bring up the mid-range as well, or the three-pointer as well, but there's really no point in bringing either one of these up, since you can only bring it up by 1 point. So one thing that you can do, obviously, is just bring up the acceleration, like all that stuff, whatever. I'm also going to bring this up as well. And there's also the post. So, like I mentioned before, he's got a post, like a post control and everything like that, but I just don't think that it's 100% necessary. And I'm going to show you guys the reason why I don't think that it's really that necessary. I'm going to bring this down a little bit here to like a 73 just to show you guys this, if I even can. So as you can see, the 60, all it does is just give you post spin technician. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be solid? Maybe. But if you guys really care about having that 60 post control to have the post spin technician, and that's the only reason why they gave him a 72 on his build as well for silver, post spin technician as well, which I don't really think is that useful in my personal opinion. It's really, really only good if you're going to play a specific, kind of like play style where you are playing a tall post up guard. I don't think past a 60 is really all that in my personal opinion. And that's the only reason why if I am going to add this, I'm only going to add it up to here with the 73 acceleration, being, what it is. You could, like I said, bring it up to a 75 if you want to, just for the sake of being able to get certain badges like triple strike on gold. But if you're going to be the main ball handler, you're really not going to have triple strike to really use. So that's why it's also like a good idea to maybe bring down the acceleration just enough to where you can get certain other, where obviously certain badges you're not going to be able to get, like I mentioned, blow by and speed booster, because you need a 92 ball handling for that. It's like fast feet is really not going to be 100% necessary at all either. But also another thing that you can do instead of doing the post control is the perimeter defense. You can bring the perimeter defense up to an 83, so you can get fast feet. But like I mentioned, it's not 100% necessary. As long as you're a good defender, you don't really need fast feet any higher than bronze, really, in reality. So it's like here, I just don't really care for anything else. I mean, obviously you can try to bring that up. It's not going to really do too much. So that's why I'm just going to bring this up, put that extra point there. So that's practically my version of D Wade, man. And yeah, I mean, this version of the build right here says Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, and J.R. Smith, and it's called an Inside the Arc Maestro, which indeed is the same build name as what D Wade has in his draft class. So if you go to the draft class and take a look at it, if I'm not mistaken, it should say Inside the Arc Maestro, because that's just typically what he was in the draft class. And I can even go and confirm that for you guys as well. If we go to the 2003 draft class, where we have obviously LeBron, we got Melo, we got Bosh, and then we also have, oh, look at that, Inside the Arc Maestro rookie shooting guard, point guard, D Wade. As you can see here as well, rookie D Wade, a 6'4", height, 212, weight, and a wingspan of 6'11". Crazy, right? Crazy. But that is practically how we have this build set up, to where we practically take a little bit of everything. We take some stuff from his version on Miami Heat, the big 3 Miami Heat. Then we have, a version of him as, the template. Then a little bit of him from his draft class version. So anyway, that's going to be it for me. Hope that you guys enjoyed this build. I know that we don't have the shades of, but hey, man, we have the height, the weight, and the wingspan exactly the same. It's my version of D Wade. I feel like it's pretty damn accurate and pretty solid for what it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. That's going to be it for me, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later, everybody.